WVUA Law Call with news anchor and host Terri Brewer and guidance from Prince Glover Law, including the knowledge and experience of personal injury attorney Bob Prince. With over 25 years of legal and trial experience collecting millions of dollars for Alabama victims, and president of the state's largest coalition of trial lawyers, the Alabama Association for Justice. Attorney Matt Glover, a member of the prestigious $1 Million Advocates Forum, and legal insights and answers to your email questions from attorney Josh Hayes. WVUA Law Call. Your rights, your calls, live. Plus guests from across West Alabama. This is WVUA Law Call.
Tonight our topic is wills and estate planning. Now that is a topic that is pretty broad and affects you and your family members. First of all, what is an estate? Is that something that only rich people have? And if you don't have a will, where will your money go after you pass away? And what is a living will? Well, these are just a few of the questions that we'll talk about tonight, but there is a whole lot more we can talk about when it comes to wills and estate planning. So give us your calls. Our number is 205-348-WVUA, 205-348-9882. Also, you can email your question into us. Our email address is lawcall@wvua7.com, so go ahead and get those questions in so our attorneys have something to answer. We'll give you a moment while we take a look at what's coming up here in the next few weeks on WVUA Law Call. January 31st is a big week for us. It is our second anniversary show, and we have some pretty neat things in the works for you, so you want to join us next week. Then on February 7th, traffic accidents, something that unfortunately happens to a lot of folks. Then on February 14th, a good time to talk about love and the law. We've done that show a few times.
That's a good one.
It is a good one, and we get a lot of calls with that one. Lots of good questions.
Next week's going to be a good show, though.
We have some surprises in store. We're going to do things a little bit differently.
We are.
And it will be something good to watch. And I've enjoyed just, thinking back over the past 2 years.
So we're going to have some clips of other shows, and we're going to have behind the scenes.
Yeah, we're going to let everyone have a look at what it takes to get Law Call on the air. It's more than you might think. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind those cameras.
That's right.
And, of course, this week we're talking about wills and estate planning. Before we get to that, Bob, you have a photo to show us.
We do. The photo that you'll see tonight is a car that's obviously been hit from the side. It's what people in the profession call T-bone, and the T is the car, and the stalk of the T is the car that hit it. And, every time I see this is a case that we handle, but every time I see one of these, I'm reminded, seat belts, Terry, seat belts, seat belts. Cars with airbags in the windows and the doors are great, but you've got to have that seat belt buckle.
And the folks, you guys worked on that case. I know you probably can't talk a whole lot about that individual case, but, when someone has an accident like that one, they may not even know if they have a case. That's
right. They may not. With another car, sometimes they think it's the other car's fault, but I tell you where I really see that is single car accidents. A lot of times they do have a case, even though they might have run off the road and hit a tree or flipped over or something. So, it's always wise to call a lawyer and just it's free, get a check to see if you even need representation.
And of course, that's the kind of work you do.
That's right.
And you're obviously, all about personal injury work. But tonight we are talking about wills and estate planning.
We are, but I've got some help tonight.
You do have some help.
I do. I've got Joel Dorroh coming on the show. Joel, hey. Glad you could make it tonight and answer these questions.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah. And Terry, you may not know much about Joel. I know he's engaged to Lynn Brooks right here on this very TV station. That's his claim to fame with most folks. Joel's born and raised right here in Tuscaloosa. He is a great lawyer. I can tell you that. He graduated in 1992 from the University of Alabama, went to New York, and got his tax degree. He's back now practicing with Suzanne Mills. Not only is he a great person, he's a great lawyer. He concentrates on business law, partnership law, but mainly estates, wills, probate work. That's right,
That's
Joel?
Correct. Yes.
And I know whenever we have a question, Joel's who we call.
That's absolutely right. And Joel, what got you interested in doing this type of legal work?
Well, I don't know. At the beginning, it just seemed like a natural fit for me that to do. My background was in accounting, so it just seemed natural to do tax work. So I went into tax law, and then that leads into estate planning, and then that leads into corporate law. So it just all seemed to fit.
All right, sounds good. Well, then you're the perfect person to be here tonight. We're glad you're here. And up first on the phone lines is Ken in Northport. Ken, how are you?
I'm fine.
Thanks for calling tonight, Ken. What's your question?
Yes, I recently talked to an attorney who said that it currently costs $3,000 in Tuscaloosa to have a will probated, and he said unless you had a substantial estate, that perhaps it might be better off not to have a will unless you had a substantial estate. I wonder if you could comment on that, and why is the fee so high?
Well, good question. And I would tell you this, that first of all, there is no such thing as a too small of an estate or to have a will or to have some type of administration in place. Now, sometimes that's with a will, sometimes it's other factors that we may talk about in tonight's show, but no estate is too small to at least do some planning for. I'll go ahead and address your question about the fees. Each attorney sets their own fees, and it's based on what the time and length of hours that they think that they probably will need to put in handling the estate. So as far as most attorneys that I know of that practice in the probate area, they can give you a ballpark as to what they think that estate may take to do, but it's not a set fee. It's not a flat amount that all attorneys charge the same thing. The other thing is it all obviously depends on the size of the estate or what the estate issues are involved, which would then impact the lawyer time involved in handling the estate.
And I want to ask real quickly before we go on to the next question, Ken mentioned probating a will. Explain what that means.
Probating a will or probating an estate in general just simply means that you are officially handling the estate through the probate court, that you are officially taking what belonged to the person that is now deceased and transferring those assets to whoever they belong to. If it's with a will, we call that a testate estate, and meaning that the person had a will, and it goes wherever the will directs, and who is in charge of it is whoever the will directs. That's one of the important things about having a will. If you don't have a will, then we call it an intestate administration, and it's the same thing. It's still probating the estate. It's still making sure the assets go where they belong. It's just now the state tells you where those assets go as opposed to where the will says.
And
go
ahead, Bob.
Well, I heard you say testate. Is that word from the same word as testament?
It is. That's
like
the reason
in
we
the
say
New Testament.
As in you'll also see last will and testament a lot of times. But yes, as in the New Testament, it basically means a written document that's setting forth what you want to have happen.
A covenant or a promise.
That's right.
And we've used the term estate a lot so far, but it sounds grand, but it doesn't have to be a lot.
An estate is simply what that person owns, and it can be as little as some minor possessions, or it can be as much as a large estate with millions of dollars or millions of dollars in real estate or something like that involved. So yes, it's an estate is just simply what the person has. It's not a matter of size or anything to do with what they own.
All right. Next up is Jerry in Tuscaloosa. Jerry, you're on the air. Go ahead with your question.
Hi. My question, my mom died about 4 years ago, and she did leave a will. And with family matters and all, we haven't been able to settle that yet because of getting everybody together. My question is there a legal limit of time before a will has to be settled?
The answer to it is simply this, is after 5 years, the will is presumed invalid. So you need to, if it's been 4 years, you need to go ahead and talk to an attorney about probating that estate and probating the will. It's not a matter of how long it takes to settle it. It just means that you have to begin the process during that time for that will to be presumed valid. After that time, there's a presumption that it's not. If you had, but once you begin the process, that 5-year limitation goes out. It's not that you have to settle everything within 5 years. It's that you have to begin the process during that time.
Joel, is that 5 years? Is that from when the person died or when they made the will?
From when they died.
Now, I've heard people afraid sometimes that I don't have a will. If I die, will all of my possessions go to the state? Is that true?
It's a common question that I get all the time, and the answer is no. Eventually, if you didn't have any relatives, then the answer is potentially yes, but you would have to go way, way down the road before that was the fact.